Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the bonus episode of the Icebreakers podcast. Matt Evers here, sat alongside this gorgeous couple. First off, our people's purple princess, Frankie Seaman, and her husband, David Seaman.
Woo-hoo!
Thank you, David, for joining us.
Absolute pleasure. I'm looking forward to this.
What are we going to be doing?
Don't know.
Well, hopefully we'll
He says
have
very nervously.
Yes.
we'll have a little bit of ice skating, a little bit of football, and then a lot of WAG chats.
There you go.
I'm here for the WAG chat.
I'm here for it too. So yes, if you watched the main episode that was on Monday, we teased that David was going to be here, obviously because this week's Dancing on Ice was about the Bolero, hence the purple in the room, but also their personal skates. And I wanted to surprise Frankie, even though you kind of knew. I mean, you guys kind of came together, so kind of ruined my surprise a little bit.
Keep it on the
but
down low.
I'm very excited to talk to you, David. I mean, we've been friends for many, many, many years, really
Since day one.
Since day one.
Yeah.
I feel like you guys have known each other longer than I've known my husband.
Have we?
Yeah, because you did series 1 together and I wasn't there for that.
How did you end up marrying him and I didn't?
Bitch, look at all this.
Brilliant. But to be fair, your story with Dancing on Ice started even before we met from day one. Because you did the original series back on, which was on BBC.
Yeah, but it weren't a series. It was a one-off show.
Right.
You know, so BBC got, I think it was called Strictly Ice Skating or something like that. And my great friend Paul Gascoigne, Gazza, was doing it. And I went to visit him and he was all right. He was very, very scratchy. And then literally 2 days later, I get a phone call and they told me that Gaz has fallen over and broke a bone in his neck.
Oh, wow.
Do you fancy stepping in? And I was like, I'll give it a go. And I hadn't skated for 22 years.
Oh, my God.
Because I used to skate as a kid. I used to mess about. I actually used to skate where Frankie learnt to skate.
In Sheffield?
In Sheffield at the Silver Blades. Yeah.
Our paths never crossed, sadly, because there's 9 years between us. So by the time David had finished skating and started his incredible footballing career, I actually hadn't even started my skating at that point.
Yeah.
Now, so I did that. I did that show, and I'd got like, I think it was about 10 days to learn to skate again, do a routine, then we did it. And
you skated with the incredible Zoya.
I did. Yeah, Zoya was brilliant. And the funniest thing was when I first went, I got on the ice, and because I love ice skating, I did then, and I still do now. And I got on, and I could skate, and I could do hockey slides and all that sort of stuff. And she went, "Oh my God, thank God you can skate."
And now, had she been skating with Gazza before that? So she had seen him.
So they'd done a routine and everything, and but she was just so happy that I could actually skate, and we actually went on and we won it. There was a bit of an audience vote, so I'm sure that it was because I was skating against Jessica Taylor. And she was really
Jessica
good.
Taylor did that BBC one too.
With Rob Bergerman.
Get out.
I'm telling you.
So Rob Bergerman is a coach on Dancing on Ice.
Who we've all known for years.
Yeah, who was a competitive skater here in the UK, ice dancer. But I didn't realize that Jessica did the BBC one too, because she then went on to do Dancing on Ice.
Yeah. But so that it was like me and Jessica as the last two, and I got the audience vote. So
amazing.
She was way better than me, by the way. I was just a little bit more popular.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So you are literally the reigning champ of the BBC.
I'm the reigning BBC champ. Yeah.
Give it up, Ledge.
Still got that.
Amazing. Now, then we fast forward how much time before Dancing on Ice came about?
Literally about 8-9 months, I think.
Oh, was
Something
it?
like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think for the people at home, they probably don't realise that there was a bit of a battle between the BBC and ITV over who would get the rights for Dancing on Ice, or whatever it was called at that point on the BBC, Strictly Come Ice Dancing or whatever. And I think people at home may have forgotten that the BBC were trying to create their own series, but then ITV had one already kind of in creation or in production in the background. So the BBC tried to get in there a bit earlier, and that's why they put this one single episode out.
Yeah.
And I think it made sense because Strictly at that point was so popular.
Well,
and
it still is.
It still is, yeah, for sure. The interesting fact is that they chose not to renew it or put it into a series because, like you said, it was just a one-off. And then Katie Rodcliffe, who is the exec producer of Dancing on Ice, came up with the idea of bringing Jane and Chris, Torval and Dean, into the format, which then became not the X Factor, but it was the X Factor of Dancing on Ice. And then the rest is history.
Yeah, when I got the call, that they wanted me to come on the show, and I was like, yeah, I'd love to, because because of my love for skating, you know, and then obviously that's where we met, and it was just, we were talking earlier about it, weren't you? You were the one that knocked me out of my skate off.
Me and
you were
Bonnie
like,
Langford.
was I? Oh, yeah, I never forgot it, mate. Don't worry about that.
I mean, to be fair, it's
Well, you and Bonnie, I should
yeah,
say.
Bonnie and I, and that first series was just everything about it in my memory was fun.
Yeah.
Because we didn't know what we were doing. It was the first time I had ever been to the UK. It was 2005 we started training.
Yeah.
I was living in Stoke Newington, which is north part of London, which at that time was really rough. And now it's like super posh. And I can remember production was still trying to figure it out as well. You know, like the car situation was abysmal. Because sometimes you'd have like this super massive Mercedes limo or what it felt like. And then the next time there wouldn't be a car and you had to walk, you know? And I can remember taking the bus with my groceries because they put us in this like little weird area that just wasn't close to anything. And you'd have to walk 15 minutes and then get on a bus and you've got like your week's groceries. I could just remember like, this is not what I am used to. Like coming from the LA television world, you know what I mean? Like, but it was just, but I loved it. I loved everything about it.
I didn't love everything about it. The bit that I didn't like was after week one, because it's the first time it's the ITV have tried it. And so like going into that first show, we were like, oh, like a little bit nervous and that, but we didn't know how many people were going to watch it, didn't we?
At all.
And then we found out afterwards that it like was over 14 million people. And then that's when the proper nerves kicked in for us.
I'm sure.
You know, and I've always said that it's the most nervous I have ever felt in my life.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
More
Even
than football.
More than football. You know, I've played in a couple of World Cups. I've played in penalty shootouts. But the nerves that I felt during waiting in the tunnel, especially waiting in that tunnel, you know, because it was different then because we had to come out at a bit of an angle.
So the difference then was to what it is now. Now the training rink is connected to the studio, and there is an ice tunnel. So it's ice from Studio A to the training rink. Where back then you walked in your guards around the side of what used to be the pink room. Do you remember that?
And it was such a teeny tiny space with wires everywhere and kind of monitors and things.
You walked in your skates to the point of where the tunnel was, literally the point of no return. And then you would take your guards off, and you literally had about 3 foot by 3 foot space to get your feet quote unquote wet, to then turn a corner and boom, you're live on TV.
Yeah.
And it was hard for us pros, and I can only imagine what you guys used to go through.
It was terrifying. You know, I remember going out there and then. And what I look for now even is when the guys come out of the tunnel and then they have to stop and then present before their routine. I love to watch celebs try and stop.
Yeah.
Because there's some funky positions they get into.
Some hairy
and I've done
moments.
it myself as well. You know, I've gone out there and then the nerves kick in. You know, I never forget like the dry mouth that I used to get. And you'd go out there and present and smile, and then your top lip would stay up there. And you're like, what's happening?
Oh my God, amazing.
And then you'd start off, and if you had a little wobble, honestly, the legs just used to go to jelly. It was terrifying sometimes.
And it's interesting too, as you know, you're a hugely successful professional athlete. To hear you speak like a normal human being in our environment I'll never get over it, because you still to this day, like all the athletes that we've had on the show, how nervous they get. And we're like, yeah, but you have a gold medal in the Olympics, or you've won a World Cup, you know, and that our sport makes you that nervous.
I mean, I don't think he's won a World Cup.
Well, yeah, we tried.
Okay. Big it up, babe. Big it up.
No, but even Tony Adams, when he did Strictly, you know, did Strictly last year, and I saw his first dance, and I could see that he was feeling exactly the same as I was when I did my first dance on an ice.
Yeah.
And I texted him straight afterwards, and I said to him, I bet that's the worst it felt for nerves ever. He went, exactly, goalie. He went, that's exactly what I felt like.
Wow. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Now, you skated with the amazing and gorgeous Pam O'Connor.
I did.
And I think it was her first time doing a show like this as well. So you guys were learning the ropes together. I mean, I really enjoyed Pam's company when I joined the second series.
Yeah.
She and I roomed together for a little while. She wasn't on the series for very long, but of course we went through the whole training process together. So that was 8 weeks. So I really got to know her, and she was a lovely girl. But you also had an accident with Pam where you were doing going into what we would call a bounce spin or a headbanger. And then I think Pam was trying to land it, and she missed her footing as she went for the landing, and she fell. And you got blamed for that, and I was really sad.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was props week. So Pam had these canes at the back of her, on her back. And so then she tried to land it and then couldn't get her hands out quick enough. And everybody says that I dropped her on the ice, but I still had her feet in my hands. So that doesn't really count as a drop in my world.
you definitely didn't drop her.
Comeback ever.
But she slipped and then she banged her chin on the ice.
Yeah.
And she was, this was like this was like show day during rehearsals. And I was like, "You okay?" And she just like moved her hands, and then the blood just started dripping.
Yeah,
down.
she
And I
proper
was
cut her chin open.
Yeah, so then she had to go to hospital and get everything sorted out. So,
Then you skated with Natalia, right?
Yeah, so we got to buy that day, and then the following
On to the next week, yeah.
Into the next week, I skated with Natalia, and
Also a lovely girl.
a really lovely
But
girl, great
completely
skater
different-
as well, but
But a completely different size to Pam because she's so tall.
She was taller, and I remember she had this like
Yellow feathers,
like big bird dress type thing on.
literally big bird.
And we were doing this lift where she like sat on my shoulder, and then I had to like glide round
Around the corner?
Yeah, and as I'm like bringing her around the corner, I could feel that my skates were like getting ahead of me. and you ain't got a toe pick at the back of them, have you? No. And then next thing I just went, and then I just let go of her, and then she landed on the ice. And when I watched it back, it was like. It was so funny because as she landed on that lot, the light just caught these like yellow feathers just fluttering down afterwards.
Was everything in slow motion?
Yeah. But these feathers had come off her dress. They must have been when I was clinging on for dear life.
Yeah. It's a big ask to change partners mid-series. It's a big ask to change partners in 4 days.
Yeah.
And I think, too, it was Natalia's first time ever. Well, it was everybody's first time doing this
she
sort
was
of
the
show,
understudy,
right? She was
so,
the understudy, and she hadn't experienced that. And from what I remember, when you had her in the lift, and I actually had this with Bonnie, and Bonnie ended up knocking me. Bonnie's the size of my pinky, and she ended up knocking me off my heels as well. But if the girl who sits on your shoulder goes big with her upper body, presents too big, it throws the weight off. And there's no forgiveness in those blades. So as soon as that weight rocks back, out go your feet. Yeah. So I think you just were a victim of two
and the other thing
hard
I remember,
circumstances.
The other thing I remember about like falling over is that there's no stopping time.
No.
You know, you have got to get back up straight away. And because you've just fallen over, your brain is absolutely scrambled.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't know where you are. First thing is you look for your partner and you try to find out what
she's on the
what's
floor.
Next. Yeah,
a ball of feathers. Like a little duckling.
You know, so then it's like panic. Where are we? Where are we in the music? And
it's hard.
It's hard. It really is hard.
Yeah.
But you didn't get eliminated that week.
No, we didn't.
We should have got eliminated just for those red trousers you were wearing.
And the yellow top.
I mean,
I'm going to need to go back and watch that. I don't remember that.
I was like a tequila sunrise.
You were. That's unkind to tequila sunrises.
So then you came back. Well, we toured.
Yeah.
Quite a few tours, and you had a couple of different partners through those tours.
Yeah.
I mean, you skated with Mel. You did a Christmas show with Mel, didn't you?
Yeah.
You skated with Christina Lenko.
What Christmas show did you do?
Well, this is when we first
This was
met.
like before the tour that I went on.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I skated with Mel.
Dancing on Ice Christmas special. Yeah.
And the thing I remember about that as well is that Mel has really small feet. So we were doing this lift, right, where I'm supposed to put my hand under a skirt.
That was a different show. That was definitely a different show.
Oh, my God.
I'm supposed to put my hand under her skate.
No, under her boots.
Yeah.
Between her boot and her blade.
Yeah, but my hand wouldn't fit.
Yeah.
You know, so I found it really clunky and everything. So when we actually did the show, I just thought, bugger this. And I just put my hand, I grabbed her blade.
Did you?
And just lifted her up. And then...
That's not very safe hands.
I know. And then we carried on, and then we went to like the kiss and cry area and chatting. And I'm looking down at my hand. I'm thinking, I've cut my hand.
Was it?
And I
Did you?
actually sliced my hands. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
That must have been terrifying as a goalkeeper, though. You should have been wearing gloves,
I'd
babe.
retired by then. It didn't matter.
Yeah, very true. So that was a Christmas special that we did.
Yeah.
That's right, because that was with Shakin' Stevens.
Yeah.
I know that was a different Christmas special.
Oh, has there been more than one?
Yeah, well, it was like, it was just, we weren't even really involved in it, I don't think. It was you guys.
I can't
and
remember who it was.
I don't think it was us.
Yeah.
But then on tour...
And then on tour, I think we did
And you
something
skated
like
with Christina Lenko.
with Christina, yeah, and I think we did about 49 shows or something like that.
It was
like
one of the
non-stop.
biggest tours.
Yeah.
So basically, you've skated with more people than Matt has.
16?
Yeah, but
Close.
it was, you know, and the tour was really like eye-opening to me because I didn't realize that you have to spend that much time off ice for so little time on it.
Right.
You know, and you're just hanging around and
Your call on, especially on a double show day, your call to the venue is 9:30, 10 o'clock.
yeah.
You get in, everybody has allotted warm-up times, which are about 20 minutes on the ice, and then you get off, and then it'll be like a meal, and then you sit around and you wait and wait and wait and wait till the start of the show.
That's because the girls are doing their hair and makeup and prepping their costumes. You guys are sitting around waiting and waiting and waiting. We're doing work over here.
Yeah.
Just saying.
But it was just, you know, I just one of the things that I remember the most is that, you know, the amount of time that you just sat around off ice.
Yeah.
You know, I used to love it when I used to get on, and I used to love whizzing around and all that sort of stuff. But then it would come to my routine and I'd be like petrified.
So while you were waiting around and we were getting ready, you guys were getting into a lot of trouble. I mean, you were mischievous backstage, all of you. I mean, it was Chris Fountain, there was Gareth Gates. I don't know if Duncan was on that tour.
No,
you were on that tour. Kieran Bracken. I mean, you guys were just unstoppable. I mean, you were going out every night. You guys,
I loved it.
And that was the other thing as well, because I was thinking, like, you know, it's dancing on ice and it's a tour. We're away for quite a while. We were allowed a couple of drinks or something.
Absolutely.
Then,
every night.
Like the lads were going out and I was like, yes. You know, so it turned into quite a nice tour.
didn't you all get told off by Karen Barber at one point?
Oh, yeah, we did. Oh, my God, yeah. She actually, we'd been out, we'd been noisy, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, we'd had a good time.
Because we all stay in the same hotels.
Yeah.
So when we'd come back at 2 o'clock in the morning, everybody down the corridors, knocking on Jane and Chris's doors. Like, they were real happy.
I remember coming back when we were in Sheffield and we're coming across, there was a square outside. Is it St. Paul's Hotel or something?
St. Paul's, yeah, the Merker.
Yeah, so there's a big square there. And,
the fountains.
And Chris Fountain, by the way, was having a right go at Mr. Gareth Gates.
There was a big rivalry.
Across the square. And then I looked at the hotel and I could see Christopher Dean looking out of his bedroom window. I was like, oh, my Lord.
And it's funny because, you know.
Was he wearing his tighty whities? No, they'd be purple though, obviously.
Yeah. but then we came back.
Bolero budgie smugglers.
And then that's when we got told off the next day. Karen got us all in front, you know, like got us all in a circle and was like having a go at us. And she turned around to me and she says to me, she went, "You wouldn't do that the day before a game, would you?" I was like, It's not exactly like a game, Karen.
Oh my God, amazing.
Dear listeners, I was not involved in these shenanigans. I was sleeping.
Oh, I was.
I heard about you guys, though. You were writing rude words on each other's heads.
Well, that was on the coach trips.
Impermanent marker, which wouldn't come off, and then we were having to put makeup on it to cover it up. I mean, it was carnage out there. I was staying well out of that.
It was great fun.
Those were the glory days.
Yeah.
The glory days, for sure. So then fast forward 1 or 2 years, we're getting almost to that point of the Champion of Champions show, which is when you guys skated together.
Yeah.
So David and I had first actually met, if we rewind all the way, probably in 2006 or 2007, and I was skating with another footballer, Lee Sharp, and you came to the first episode of the series to see Pam, to say hi to Pam.
Because I said to Pam, I said, "Well, I'll come later on in the show." She went, "No, come to the first show." Oh,
just in case I need you.
She went out in the first week. She was with Dr. Fox.
Yeah.
And actually, funnily enough,
that's right.
Yeah, and so funnily enough, the person that I was skating with, Lee's girlfriend, had a son who was madly in love. He was 11. He was madly in love with Pam, and I was like, "Oh, I know Pam. You know, I like her. She's really lovely." And he was like, "Oh, I really want to meet her." And he was 11. So I took him over to meet Pam, and you were with Pam, chatting to Pam in the bar. Yeah. So that was the first time I met you. And I mean, it was just a quick hello, whatever. We were more interested in Pam, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then you came back and did a VT for us, and then I met you again at the Christmas show. So we met like so many times over the years before we toured together, and then you came back for the second tour.
And then I came back for the second tour, but I was a guest judge.
Yeah.
I think it was at Wembley.
Maybe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then
fitting.
Yes. The good times at Wembley. That's when we first started,
getting together,
getting to know each other and getting together. So it was,
David,
so that's why
David didn't recognise me when I was like in normal clothes. He only ever saw me in either skating dresses.
I don't recognise you either.
I know. Skating dresses or training gear. I'm having a bit of an out-of-body experience just sitting and watching you. I feel like I'm just like, woo!
Oh, she still swoons
My
over him.
husband on the podcast. I love it.
Gag me.
let me...
With pleasure.
The fact that you guys, because we see it on your social media, obviously I talk to you guys all the time, and I see that you still skate, warms my heart because
Aren't you staying at our house tonight?
I am.
Do you want to come skating?
No, I skated today. My feet are tired. But no, it's amazing. The fact that you guys have found, I mean, obviously Frankie loves the sport. You fell in love with the sport. You guys found love together. And then you have found this sort of like social activity through skating.
Oh, we're like adult skaters now. It's brilliant.
I know.
We just rack up to the ring, do our little thing, pull every bone in our body, pull every muscle that we've got, and then we get up and we think we've had a great day.
But do you still have fun?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. All the time.
We just laugh, don't we?
Yeah. And but I get told off for laughing because when there's other skaters on there and then they fall over, I'm like, way. And she's like, don't do that, David. It's funny.
I'm so embarrassed.
Oh
you
my
know
God.
what skaters are like. If you fall over, we fall over all the time. It's how it is, and you just get up and you carry on.
Yeah.
But he has to make a big production and song and dance about it. And,
And
I'm
it's not like your voice is quiet.
No, I
26
suppose so, yeah. Well, we recently went skating and my ex-teammate Lee Dixon was with us and he'd been recuperating after having a partial knee replacement. And he was like, oh, I'd love to watch you skate. So we went skating. I says, and he was like, I bet you fall over. I'm like, I'm not falling over. I'm not falling over. And we were doing this, we're doing a wrist ripper or something, weren't we? And then I lost my balance and I flipped my skates and I landed there like, bye, like that. And there's a look round. Dicko's on the side there with his camera like that going, and he got it videoed.
on his crutches.
Oh my God, brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah, but, you know, it's part of it. But, yeah.
We still have
Still
fun.
love it. Still have good fun, don't we?
Yeah.
That's something that we all can learn from is especially like for you, Frankie, you've skated since you were young, and the fact that you've had a bit of a rough patch with skating, but now you've gotten back into it through David is amazing.
It's interesting because I retired when I was 30 and I'd had this amazing ice skating career. I was so lucky. I traveled all over the world. I'd always been, you know, a principal skater in the shows. You know, for a while I was like really up there as one of the top adagio skaters in the world. And then I kind of retired and suddenly this show came up in the UK, and my friend who was American, Tamara, who skated with Andy Peters, was telling me all about it. And at the time I was on a cruise ship. I was skating on a cruise ship and I was like, why are you in the UK? And she was like, girl, you know how she speaks. She's so New York.
Proper New York.
And she's like, girl, I'm in the UK. We're doing this show. And I was like, what show? Because, you know, as far as I knew, there wasn't any skating kind of professionally in the UK at that time other than Hot Ice. So she gave me the email of Katie Rawcliffe and the team. And I emailed them and I was like, I need to do the show because I'm English and you don't have very many professional ice skaters that would be able to do that show at that level. And that's how I got involved on the second series. So obviously you guys were all there on the first season. And it was really nice for me to come back and have this like swan song because I had retired once already.
Yeah.
And I came back and did this show and it was great, you know, and obviously everything that went with it being on ITV, and it was a primetime shiny show at that time. I mean, I think there were millions and millions, 10, 12 million people watching it, you know, and I was on there for 10 years and I loved it. I loved every minute. I met my husband. Yeah, I mean, I have great memories of the show.
Amazing.
I used to love the pro routines. Your pro routines used to be so good.
Yeah. It was the highlight for us too.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah,
you know, we
but-
actually got to like skate full out.
Yeah, and for us to watch you doing that,
Yeah.
you know, it was brilliant. You know, just watching all the different ones. You know, and then when you do, I remember like when you, Dan, and was you and was it Christina?
Dan, Matt, and I did a trio.
Yeah,
I
that's
said threesome last week and I got into trouble. So Dan, Matt, and I did a trio. And then the year before that, Dan, Matt, and Christina, your partner,
Yeah.
did a. Well, I don't even know what to say because I'm going to get into
Quadruple?
trouble. A quad, yes.
Right.
A quad skates.
Yeah, but I remember always like thinking,
Not a foursome. It actually was a foursome.
I mean, it is, but
A quad.
that has a bit of a different connotation to it.
Is that a different podcast?
That's a different podcast.
It's the Midnight Podcast.
But yeah, just to see you doing it properly was that was cool.
Obviously, you know that I've retired this year, and I haven't spoke a lot about it, but it hasn't been easy. You know, I'm still at an age when I still want to do things. And, you know, when you take this career shift at the certain part of your life that I wasn't really expecting to, do you know what I mean? It wasn't something that I had forecasted, and it was a matter of a bunch of different sort of cogs that were all working. It's been the best thing that I've ever done for myself.
For your body.
For my body. But how did you find, because when did you retire from football? It was...
I retired when I was 40, so I
Yeah.
retired in 04.
Okay.
But I was ready for it. You know, I knew that because I was getting to like 38, 39, 40, I knew that it was going to be coming.
Yeah.
You know, because for me, there comes a time when you don't enjoy it. And I still say it today. You know, I coach at Arsenal once a week with the young goalkeepers. But when I chat to players that are coming towards the end of their careers, I say, you'll get a sign. Something will happen while you're training or whether you're playing. You'll get a sign and then you'll know.
Okay.
And I was playing for Man City because I'd left Arsenal at the end of my career. I went to Man City for a year, playing away at Wolves. And the ball was down the other end and I was in goal and I was like, what am I doing here? And that was the only time I'd ever had that feeling. But that's different to when all of a sudden retirement comes to you earlier, I think. You know, like I try and compare with players that get injured and then they have to retire. Right. That must be hard to cope with.
I think I probably had the sign every single year for the past
I know,
6 years when I was like, who am I skating with? They're like, Gemma Collins or, you know, whomever. I wish that should have been my sign, right? But no, it was. But I still loved my job.
Your sign would have come with when you were skating with the pros.
Right.
Or maybe it didn't. Yeah. You know, it's, you know, but I just felt when I retired, I was happy. I was like, I'm happy now. I can go and do other stuff that I want to do.
Yeah, I think because they just don't teach anybody really how to retire and how to segue into something else. Yeah. We all hope that we have a backup plan. And thankfully, as Frankie and I have discussed on earlier episodes of this has been incredible for both of us because it's sort of
it's been like therapy for you, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And you've come straight into it as well. Yeah. You know, you've announced your retirement and you're still working, you're still doing stuff with skating.
Yeah.
You know, like I was still doing things with football. But then I wanted to go into the TV side of it, but not so much into football side of it. You know, I wanted to go in. You know, that's why I did the BBC one. I did That's So Nice. I've done a lot of other TV shows.
Harry's Heroes, The Masked Dancer.
Yeah, Noel Edmonds, his house party with Mr. Blobby. You know, I'm turning up with my England kit on, doing a penalty shootout and stuff like that, live on TV.
You're such a ham. I love it.
You know, so there was other stuff that I wanted to do. I love my fishing. I love my golf. You know, I still do loads of charity work. You know, so it's a case of keeping busy.
Yeah. I think for you as well, because skating's been such a passion for you for your whole life, and it's also been an integral part of your personality, as we've spoken about before. It is who you identify as. Like I'm Matt Evers, I'm a professional ice skater, and the same for me. When that's taken away from you and it's out of your control, it doesn't feel like you've had full closure in your career. You don't feel like you ended that narrative or you had that option to be able to say, okay, this is the final chapter. That's taken away from you and you don't even have the right to reply. And I think that's what's so frustrating and can be so damaging mentally. And I think thankfully you've had this to still stay connected. And obviously tonight we saw you on Dancing on Ice, but I do feel that, you know, that's probably been more of a shock to you and probably more traumatic than it needed to have been.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, well, yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Did your voice just break?
My voice just cracked. You're a fellow podcaster too.
I am, yeah. And
we're a family of podcasters.
I know. You record yours on a Sunday. I record mine on Monday mornings.
Yeah.
You know, obviously straight after the Premier League games, and we chat about the games that have just happened at the weekend, and then we do our predictions. And
did we steal your idea, or did you steal our idea?
I think we probably stole his. But we added sparkles and glamour. There are no sparkles and no glamour. It's very disappointing.
But it's something that I got into. They asked me to do it for the Euros when England got through to the final, and I quite enjoyed it. And then they asked me to do a whole Premier League season.
And you weren't sure if you were going to enjoy it or not, were you? And it was good that it was for the Euros because it was a short series.
And then when they asked me to do the Premier League one, then I start watching football again. I'm like, you know,
all the football.
You'd rather be fishing.
Yeah. So then I have to watch all the football. But in the podcast, you know, I've had some like fantastic guests and that. You know, I've had Robbie Williams on a couple of times.
Amazing.
Matt Lucas, Piers Morgan. Just like loads. And then I've even this season, I've had Arsene Wenger, Thierry Henry, and Dennis Bergkamp.
Boom.
And it doesn't get a lot better
Name
than that,
dropper.
especially for Arsenal fans.
Who's your booker? Jenny, come on.
It's weird though, because I just phone people up, you know, because I've got all the numbers. And I just say, any chance doing the podcast? They don't say no to me.
He is 6'4" and he's from Yorkshire.
I know.
Big hands.
I know. No, they're good. And I enjoy it now, and yeah, hopefully it's long may it continue.
Absolutely.
When you're having fun doing something that you like,
it's not work.
You get the best results.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just like the Icebreakers podcast.
I was going to say, that's why we've been so successful, because we have a lot of fun.
We do.
Successful? I don't know.
Well,
But
say
fun?
so.
We do, yeah.
Yeah.
David, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an
pleasure.
absolute
Can
pleasure.
you give us a lift home?
Yeah, all right. Then.
Yeah, can we get a lift home?
You must be very important people. You got me driving you.
It's late and I can't get a taxi home from Lakeside.
I'll be your driver anytime.
Thank
Oh, we're
you.
stopping at McDonald's, though, I'm just saying.
Yes, please.
Okay. I've really enjoyed having you on our podcast. I don't know why. It was so weird. I was like, oh, this is so strange. I don't know what to talk to you about, because it's kind of like, do we talk about the cats? Do we talk about, like, what's for dinner? I don't know. It's kind of weird. But I've really enjoyed having you here.
Yeah. Well, I've enjoyed watching you as well.
Have you?
Been watching you work.
Have you?
Yeah.
I'm just going to sit back and watch this.
It's a love in, it's a love fest. And we'd like to thank our sponsors, Lakeside Shopping Centre, the leading retail and leisure destination in Essex.
Just 35 minutes from London with free parking and over 250 stores to discover.
And discover them we have, because this week I am styled by New Look.
And I am wearing these brand new trainers that aren't even on the shelves yet by Lacoste.
So, I have some questions. What you don't know, because you've never been here before, is
Right.
that you are leaning on the cushion of shame.
Of shame.
Yes, because this is where I keep all my little things. Like I have my little scorecard.
Right.
I have, what else have I got back here? I've got a biro pen. What else have I got back here? Got my iPad.
And this makes it shameful.
I've got my phone. Well, I'm not going to get everything out from back there. Got my little treats and snacks.
Where we normally hide things. We rearranged the
okay.
furniture for you today.
We did, because you needed more space. So what we do is during the week, people will ask us questions, skating related or podcast related, and we'll kind of screenshot them and we send them to each other on a little chat so we know what we're doing. And this week we've had some really interesting questions. We've had quite a lot, actually, so we probably won't be able to get through them all. But do you miss it, Frankie, as we miss you both? I'm kind of asking that to myself. Yeah, I miss it. Could I still do it? I'm 51 next week, so possibly not, but I do still miss it. Do you miss it?
I miss aspects of it. I do miss the pro stuff. I got asked this question so much tonight at the studio.
I bet. Because everybody missed you so much.
Yeah, I think what my answer is I don't miss waking up feeling the pain.
Yeah.
Right? When you're an athlete, we deal with pain a lot. And this past year, it's been really nice to wake up feeling like a normal human being, you know, 9 times out of 10. But I do miss the performance side of it. That adrenaline rush that you get, even as a professional, week after week after week, is something that I do miss. Maybe I should take up like race car driving or something.
You need to do something.
Race car driving? No. Not till this podcast is
Okay,
over.
Mom.
Absolutely not. N-O.
This one's from Zara. She has asked, which celeb bolero has been your favorite?
Ours. We actually never did it, did we?
No.
But
Wait, why did you guys have a bolero?
we didn't.
Oh,
We
We've
didn't.
got one in our back pocket, just waiting for the right moment to bust it out.
well, shoot.
I know we didn't have
It's at the
one.
bottom of my back pocket. It's a very deep pocket.
There's a lot of lint down there, too.
Okay, well then my favourite celeb bolero was obviously Chris Fountain, because I did so many with him.
It was a great
It
bolero.
was a great bolero, and then we went on tour and we did it night after night after night after night, and I really enjoyed that one.
I think probably one of my most favorite boleros that wasn't mine was like Alex Schauman and James Jordan.
Oh, Alex is an incredible choreographer, so I
Yeah.
can see why that would be the case.
It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's just
and he was
special.
such a great skater by that final. I mean, he was always a great skater, but his final performance was pretty awesome.
Ray weren't too bad as well, was he?
Oh, God, I mean, Ray's obviously champion of champions, but we talk a lot about Ray.
Oh, okay.
It's not all about Ray.
He is amazing.
Yeah.
Period. Now, we did have somebody correct us because I think we have misinformed the listeners.
Oh, I like this.
But
I like to get notes.
the correction was that Miles, I think either you or I had mentioned that Miles had potentially had dance training because he went to stage school.
I think that was me.
That he hasn't had dance training.
Oh, okay. He did go to stage school though, right?
So he probably went
he went to the Brit school, I
the
think.
Brits.
Right.
So, and I don't know if Brits has dance. It's mostly vocal or music.
Okay, fine.
So we apologize.
Well,
Thank
the
you for
way he
correction.
skated tonight, he looked like he's been dance trained. I mean, he's really getting
Absolutely.
it now. So well done, Miles.
Absolutely.
Even better, well done if you haven't had dance training. Amazing.
And then last but not least, because we do need to move the show along, I'm hungry. Speedbird Julie. has
Speedbird
said,
Julie, I love that name.
Do you have any tips for those who have started skating later on in life? David, this might be a good one for you to answer.
Any tips on it? Yeah, just be careful. Because trust me, when you fall over, it really hurts.
Maybe you should just leave it at that.
Yeah, but just go and enjoy it because it is fantastic.
I would say my tips if you're starting later in life is you definitely need a coach. Make sure that you focus on those basics because, like David said, it does hurt when you fall over and you don't want to have a bad experience. So get a coach and work on your basics. Don't run before you can walk.
Yes.
Don't fly before you can skate.
Absolutely. Thank you, David, for being here. Frankie, thank you as always. Thank you guys for sending in all those questions. We will try and hit you guys up on the socials, as you can see here on the screen. Keep those DMs coming, and we will try and answer as many as possible throughout the week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening here at the Icebreakers podcast, and we will see you next week is what, Frankie?
Guilty pleasure.
Guilty pleasures. Wow, do you have to say it like that?
I mean, yeah.
We need some sexy music underneath that. But we will see you on the next episode.
Right, come on, you two. Cars on a meter.
Woo!
Ding, ding. Produced by Be Inspired Media, the content and podcast agency.